recording. Okay. I'd be in trouble if I don't resume recording. So Rumi was born on September 30th, 1207. And he died at the age of 66 on December 17. So it's almost 747 years that he passed away. And the night of his celebration became known because of his love and unity with the beloved God in Sufism, became known as Shabe Arussi in Farsi and wedding night. I'm Fariba Enteshari, the founder of Rumi Educational Center. I am really happy that you took time in this busy season, and very special season because it's a season of celebrating the light within a lot of cultures and tradition. We welcome you and we are pleased that you are here in such a meaningful time of the year. Also, I would like to tell you a bit about the Rumi Educational Center. We are a nonprofit organization, and we really promote authentic Rumi's teaching through lectures, research, and different avenues. Authentic means that we would like to kind of trace back everything we say into the Rumi's work, and would like to directly translate. And it's more literal translation of Rumi, so it could be a little bit harder translation and not so attractive translation in English. It's harder to consider all aspects of one word. In Farsi, you say one word has 3 meanings, but we try our best. Also, Rumi's teachings, as you know, is all embracing and help us collectively to understand the common denominator among different religions, especially the Holy Scripts, and also different traditions. Although Rumi was living in 13th century, he was migrated from Balkh, which is a part of Afghanistan today, Greater Persia at that time, to Konya, which was another city full of different traditions. And I must say the stories that he is using in Masnavi, it comes from all these traditions, like a tapestry woven together with the thread of different tradition, and therefore ushering to us a carpet of commonality among all of us. But love, as you know, is the love of God is the essential teachings of his Sufi tradition that is passing on to us, and the wisdom of enlightenment. You can, sign up for newsletters and different events that we are offering at rumieducationalcenter.org. We appreciate your donations, especially because they make they enable us to offer you these programs. We very much depended upon those donation that comes in. Also, we really try to have most of our programs free, but there are classes and courses that you need to sign on to when you wanted to learn the Masnavi especially, or the language that Rumi teaches in a particular ways. So let me again welcome those people who join us just right now. And I wanted also to share with you, I know this was a very difficult year, not only because of pandemic, but also because it was a year of clashes between the truth and alternative reality. In so many ways, this was a year that tested the edges of our democracy in the worst possible ways. We are thankful for where we are today, and we celebrate that because of honesty and sanity of those people who were who could directly make decision about our democracy. And they were tested in a hard way. And still they were able to choose what they thought is right. This is something we all need to work on. That brings importance of Rumi today and his teachings and wisdom for us, because his teaching comes from School of the Truth. So we're not only celebrating the time of the light, but also many, many good things as we feel it, as we feel all these pressure from pandemic and all the consequences of it. We can also celebrate a number of coming together and having a leadership that also can again show that with our work, believe me, in 13th century it wasn't easier than now. And I think it's just to be continued. We have to come together and make sure that the new generation also can understand logic and how to understand the truth and understand the fake news. So to go back to what I wanted to share tonight with you, the concept of the wedding night is based on these verses of Quran that talks about Inna Ilaihi Raji'un. We come from the source and we go back to the source. This is a verse that is repeated a number of times in Quran, and Rumi does the same. He used these verses in a number of poetries within the ghazals and also within the Masnavi. Just the concept of understanding that مرغ باغ ملکوتم نیم از عالم خاک. I am the bird of the heaven. I don't belong to the earth. Just for a few days, I am encased in my body. Joyous, spreading my wings, I shall fly back to my friend. Very much like Psalms, Rumi talks about this relationship and friendship. His art and mastery is about being a lover, and the God is the beloved. And the vocation that he practices while he is on his earthly body, that is because he feels that his body and his soul, they are two opposite. There is tension. His attention is wanting to be on the soul and practicing the vocation and the attribute of the soul, because he understands a second concept that he is using. It called Alastu Barabakum, again, is part of Quran. And it has very much to do with the creation. I love, Rumi has a number of versions of stories around the creation. And this one is about that the God, when God wanted to blow its breath, because God doesn't have a gender in Islam, God wanted to blow the breath, a holy breath, into the clay house, Rumi calls it, into our body, and let us come and have the gift of life on the earth. So there was an agreement, Quran tells us. And the agreement is Alastu Barabakum, start with Alastu Barabakum question. Did I not tell you I am your God? And Sufis especially evolve their practices around understanding that our agreement to God was that we said, yes, we understand God. We know that we have this agreement with you. We do remember that you are our God. We do remember that our holy bread is the essence and it comes from somewhere else. So because of that, they understand that there was a concept and promise and agreement of remembering. Did I not tell you I am your God? And we, as we were in the presence of God, we said, yes, we will remember you if you give us the gift of God. And then Rumi becomes comic. He's very humorous. And the way he becomes comic, he says, well, you did promise, yes, but then once you came here, your donkey, which is the representative of our matter, a vehicle that carries our soul, a donkey got busy with the grass and distractions, and we kind of forgot to remind ourselves, our holistic self, that there is a connection between us and the remembrance promise. That's why Sufis have the zikr. That's why they have different traditions to just be able to remember, and an ongoing remembrance of our holy bread and the attention that we are far more than what we see tangible in our mind, in our character, and in our body. We are also, as he tells us, not only five physical senses, we are five intuitive senses that really, like threads, connect us to our source and where we came from. So these two concepts are the guideline for Rumi, and all the traditions and everything else in life is the vocation of the awareness of our spirit qualities. To understand, that's why Sufis, if you have heard about 99 names of God, uh, these are attributes of God, not all of them about love. Some of them is about justice. One of them that I love very much is about covering, al-Sattar, which it's really very, it's between heaven and earth. Al-Sattar means the one who covers our mistakes. So we have time to be able to correct ourselves, because as human, we have to experience, experiment, and be able to go back and forth and understand what is it really. That's why we are given free will. What is it really that we choose to do with this time that we are a guest on the earth? A lot of good environmental and justice and rules that we have in 21st century did not exist in 13th century. So we have made progress. But like democracy, the school of the truth that Rumi is teaching has very much to do with our practices, with our understanding. Within Rumi's poetry, there is no bad or good. It's toward light, toward awareness, and is toward ignorance. So it's very important which direction we choose and how we evolve our connections, uh, not only within our inner living, but also within our life with others. So these are important aspects that it emphasizes on the time that we are here and the passing is, as we mentioned, is the time to go back. I need to pass on to Alice soon, but I would like to share with you this poem. Is from Essential Rumi, but the source of it is Masnavi 3. It's about, again, the friend and the time that we pass here. And another analogy, as we said, I mentioned Alasto Barabakum, part of Quran, and Inna Ilahi Rajiun. This is like Rumi being the poet, even within Masnavi, where he is a master. And as a master, he is teaching us, as master, teaching us the levels and the ranks of understanding the enlightenment. But this poem I chose for you because it shows also he is the poet who really profoundly think about thinking. And then I will introduce Alice. I think I have, unfortunately, to put us on the mute. There's some background. I don't have to mute you if we can stay quiet. Thank you. So, bird songs from inside the egg. Sometimes a lover of God may faint in the presence. Then the beloved bends and whispers in his ear. Beggar, spread out your robe. I will fill it with gold. I have come to protect your consciousness. Where has it gone? Come back. This fainting is because lovers want so much. A chicken invites a camel into her hen house, and the whole structure is demolished. A rabbit nestles down with its eyes closed in arms of a lion. There is an excess in a spiritual searching that is profound ignorance. Let that ignorance be our teacher. The friend breathes into one who has no breath. A deep silence revives the listening of those two who meet on the riverbed. Like the ground turning green in a spring wind, like bird songs beginning inside the egg. Like these universe coming into existence, the lover wakes and wills in dancing joy, then kneels down in praise. I leave you with that. And now I would like to introduce my friend, Alice MacDonald, a former member of our board and a current member of our board of advisors. Alice, who has walked her spiritual path with an open mind and heart. She has been a member of the World of and Life community for 40 years, serving in a various leadership role, including coordinating for 9 of those years, and retiring in March 2008. She has a master's degree from Loyola Marymount University in theology. She is a deep, profound thinker, and at the same time, also all-inclusive. She believes and had a study with many who teaches evolutionary spirituality. The most favorite one is a local priest we had who passed away Father Virgil, who is known to many of us, Richard Rohr. And what is really in this painful year, Alice lost her husband after 55 years. He passed on. She had 55 wonderful years with him. They have 3 grown children. I would like to welcome her to share with us about what she has been through in this year, especially after her husband, Bill, had departed from his body. And Alice?
Well, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can
you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but you need to be closer.
All right.
I think.
Okay, is it better now?
Is it better for everyone?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, well, thank you, Fariba, for inviting me to participate in the celebration. Fariba is the Rumi scholar. I wouldn't say I know a lot about Rumi, except that I enjoy Rumi's poetry. But mostly I'm friends with Fariba. So I feel if I know Fariba, I know Rumi. Because when you study somebody to the depth that Fariba has studied Rumi, you can't help but become an extension of that person in the world. So anyhow, I feel like I know Rumi better through just knowing Fariba. And thank you, Fariba, for all the work you're doing at the Rumi Educational Center to try and make Rumi accessible to us ordinary people.
Welcome. Thank you.
Lots of things are going through my mind, and I want to keep it short, so I'm trying to decide the best perspective to take on this being the anniversary of Rumi's death, which is also his wedding night, and thinking about my own wedding and my 55 years of marriage, which really has been the path for me to understanding myself and God and others. One of the things about the Catholic tradition and experience that I grew up in is this idea of vocation. And we were always taught there are 3 vocations: to the married life, to the priestly or religious life, and to the single life. But they are all vocations. They're a calling to God through a certain path. No one is superior to the other, even though we were taught that the religious life was the highest calling, but really it's just a different calling. And so my lifelong call has been to God through the path of marriage. And on my wedding day, my aunt, who was helping me get dressed, and my bridesmaids, she took me and stood me in front of the full-length mirror. And she said, I want you to stay there. And I want you, oh, I'm sorry. Is that coming through? My phone is.
That's okay. It's in the background.
She said, I want you to stand in front of the mirror because you're going to forget what you look like. And so every time I would leave the mirror, she'd pull me back and make me stand there. And she said, you're going to forget what you looked like. And it's funny because that's a memory. When you talk about memory, Fariba, that's a memory I have. And she was right. After many years of being married and understanding the deep significance of a covenanted union and what that says about God and creation, I came to realize that I forgot I was a bride, because in the Catholic tradition, we hold up Mary mostly as mother, but she's never really a bride. because being a bride, how do I want to say this? It gives you a sexuality that is part of the whole marriage attraction and drawing together of two souls. So I do believe, and I like what you said about coming from the source and returning to the source. I believe that Bill and I were meant to be together. I think we were two souls destined to find each other in this dimension. And we were destined to find each other because it was more about who we were together and how that is a reflection of something beyond ourselves, how there's more to our marriage than just the two of us. And I think we both, because we would always say, there's more to this story, and there's more going on than meets the eye. And anyhow, when we had a marriage like most people have, we had our ups and downs and our years we didn't like each other very much, and but we grew together, and finally at some point I think we crossed a threshold where the deep love just the intimacy we were looking for and the deep love we had, we were able to express with each other. So when he had dementia, and for about the last 4 years, and I put everything aside when he could no longer work, and he was take care of him. And I took care of him along with my family. I think he died and was able to die. So that
Okay.
and on the day that after he passed away, a friend of mine made a beautiful card for me. And on the front of the card was a picture of the sunset that she had captured on the night of his death. And on the inside, she said, Bill left us in a blaze of glory, never to be forgotten. And I love this because it emphasizes my connection and this idea of there not being a separation. He really was in that sunset, really. And then on the other side of the card, she has a quote from Rumi. Goodbyes are only for those who love with their eyes, because for those who love with heart and soul, there is no such thing as separation. And I think if I had anything to say tonight and to make it concise, it would be this understanding that there is no such thing as separation. We come into life and we go out. And when Bill passed away, it to me, it was more a sense of completion, that something was completed within his own life and within our life together. And it was time for him to leave, came from the source and back to the source from which he came. I like to say, because he was such a loving and generous person, that Bill, like all of us, I believe this of every single one of us, he was a form of love in the world. His form is gone, but the love isn't. He now really is the love of my life, the love in my life. Anytime I experience love, it's Bill. I miss the form. My kids and I laugh at each other because I told this story before. Some have heard it, but when my mother lived here and we had her in a nursing home, and I'd go down every day, and there was a woman there one night when I went to visit my mother, and she was wheeling herself down the hallway, and she was sobbing and crying, and I leaned down and I said, Bernice, what's the matter? And she said, my mother died and my mother's dead and I'm dying. And I leaned down and I said, well, Bernice, you're right. We're all dying. But I said, we don't really go anywhere when we die. We're still here. I said, your mother's still here. You just can't see her. And she looked at me wide-eyed and horrified and said, well, what good is that? And I thought, she's so right. So now when I say, well, Bill is still here, we just can't see him. The kids and I look at each other, well, what good is that? But I have to say there's a mystery to life that none of us can really comprehend. And especially when it comes to life and love and loved ones. The only thing I can say is I feel at such peace inside myself, and I don't know why I do, or why I'm not more sad. And that's the only way I really know he's in me, that we are one, and there's no separation between us. So I think, especially in the days we're living in, that this idea of there not being any separation between, I will say, I'll call it, well, you can name it in any way you want, spirit and matter, God and creation. It took me a long time to find Teilhard de Chardin, who was able to bring God and the world together. My thesis on him in graduate school was For God So Loved the World, because I loved life. And we were taught, in the Catholic tradition growing up that, this is a temporary home and we have to forsake the world. And the next, wherever we're going next is our true home. This is our true home. And being able to understand exactly that everything that happens has it's like this quote, those who love with their eyes only what's on the surface. There's more going on than meets the eye. The whole pandemic that we are experiencing right now, it's somewhat bothersome to me because of the emphasis that, well, people will say to me, well, the virus is real. Of course, the virus is real. People are dying and people are suffering, but the virus is real on two levels. It's real physically, but it's also real spiritually. The virus, to me, what has gone viral, and it's called the coronavirus. Humanity is the crown of creation. We're the stewards of creation, but we aren't doing a good job. So this virus, it's like it all got turned back, and a mirror is being held up to us to help us understand we're the ones. It's our illusion of separation, that what we do, what we think, what we say, how we act doesn't affect anything. Everything is connected, and everything influences everything else. And so I think if there was any message, it's the great need today to heal this, what I call mother of all divorce, the divorce between spirit and matter, between God and the world. I really believe that my marriage to Bill was a sacrament. In the Catholic tradition, a sacrament is an outward sign of an inward reality. The outward sign of the two of us married together in a covenanted relationship was a sacrament of the interior relationship in all of our souls between us and God. And we need to reestablish this because we've come far off the mark of understanding that there is more going on than meets the eye. And a great love is drawing us up into a new humanity, one where we can repair these separations and divisions, I think the best vaccine that we could have would be one that levels the playing field of all the people today, so everybody would have equal access to their basic needs. If we can do that as a humanity, then I think there would be no virus, because I think that's what the virus is trying to tell us. So I'm kind of going to stop there, or else I'll go on too long, but thank you for giving me the time to express some of these thoughts.
Thank you so much, Alice. And I know it's not easy to share the layers, deep layers of such a long time, 55 years being with your husband. But I think we always need what we study within the practical life. And you are one of the thinker that just doesn't think only, but also you are able to bring it in the flesh and body to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Rick, Rick is the chair of our board. And he's one of the known gerontologists with textbook and more than 100 of scholarly articles. He had a lot of passions. I cannot list them all, so I let him talk about it. One of them is Rumi. He loves Rumi so much that he also learned Farsi, so he can dig into his scholarly branches and look at the Farsi words. And it's my honor that he is also the one who pushed me to make the Rumi Educational Center a nonprofit, so we can access more people and offer more part of the Rumi that it's needed in our time. I appreciate that Rick to be like Alice, a good teacher and mentor in my life. His potential are many, so I let him talk, but one of his passion right now is human value in aging. So also through some of the research we have done, Rumi and aging have connections, and Rick is going to just tell us what he thinks in this area of life. Rumi and aging, positive aging. I like the positive part. Thank you. Go ahead.
English half mizana.
Okay.
I'm going to speak. What I want to say is I just want to thank Alice MacDonald for sharing with us what she did. I have had a substantial caregiving experience myself personally. I'm 75 years old. I have worked in the field of aging for more than 45 years, but I did my doctoral dissertation on Meister Eckhart. And I want to talk about positive aging. And I want to begin with some lines from Rumi rendered by Coleman Barks. And here they are. It's called A Man Talking to His House. I say that no one in this caravan is awake, and that while asleep, a thief is stealing the signs and symbols of what you thought was your life. Now you're angry with me for telling you this. Pay attention to those who hurt your feelings, telling you the truth. And then Rumi goes on to a kind of a joke. He compares the human body to a house that's constantly breaking down. I'm very mindful of this because I just moved into a new house and I spent much of today with people coming in doing repairs. So it's supposed to be new, but here it is, I'm doing repairs. So Rumi compares the human being to the human body to a house. He says, this house is your body, always saying, I'm leaving, I'm going soon. Don't hide from one who knows the secret. And that's the message that our body, certainly if you're 70 or 80 years old, starts telling you. But Rumi is asking us, will we listen? Will we listen to the message that we're being given? And I'm afraid in our youth worshiping culture today, the answer is mostly no. We won't listen because Botox and antioxidants and other things are going to solve the problem. That's what many people believe. It's not true. It's not true. Take it from me. I wrote a textbook in gerontology. Every day, the reality is that 10,000 boomers are turning 65. That's every day, okay? And in the second half of life, people increasingly find themselves discovering that things are not what they seem. The American dream, for example, is not what we were promised. It's a discovery that can give rise to disillusionment, even depression. And alternatively, that same discovery can stimulate us to look for something greater in our lives. And that's where Rumi comes in. I had the opportunity once to see in person the great psychiatrist, Viktor Frankl. He was a survivor of the Holocaust. And of course, he wrote the book, great book, Man's Search for Meaning. It's an experience I will never forget, seeing him in person, just like the time when I was 17 years old, I saw in person Eleanor Roosevelt and on another occasion, Joseph Campbell. And what Viktor Frankl said was also Rumi's message about aging. And and again, I'm going to go back and quote Rumi. It's not exactly Rumi because Coleman Barks is not himself actually speak Farsi, but he does a very good job of making Rumi available to Americans, I think. And here's Rumi's words. Why does a date palm lose its leaves in autumn? Why does every beautiful face grow in old age, wrinkled like the back of a Libyan lizard? I love that. Why does a full head of hair get bald? Why is it that the lion's strength weakens to nothing? The wrestler who could hold anyone down is led out with two people supporting him, their shoulders under his arms. God answers, they put on borrowed robes and pretended they were theirs. I take the beautiful clothes back so that you will learn the robe of appearance is only a loan. Your lamp was lit from another lamp. All God wants is your gratitude for that. We're starting right now a familiar Christmas season. So it's appropriate to remember the character of Ebenezer Scrooge from Dickens' great Christmas Carol. The Scrooge is an example of an old person who has lost hope. He begins with clinical depression at the beginning of the novel, the beginning of the movie. But then he's visited by the ghost of Jacob Marley, and then the voice of Christmas past, Christmas present, and Christmas future. And by the end, he's reminded of all that he has to be grateful for. And so he changes. He changes radically. You're never too old to change. You're never too old to change. But the key is gratitude. And that's what Rumi's message is. Meister Eckhart, the great Christian mystic, he was a near contemporary of Jalaluddin Rumi. And Eckhart said just what Rumi is saying. Eckhart said, and I'm quoting Eckhart here now, if the only prayer you say in your whole life is thank you, that's enough. So I thank all of you for being with us here today for this commemoration of Rumi's wedding night. It's wonderful to be here, even if not in person, to be present with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. So let's take a moment before we go to the next part, which we would love to hear from you before, while all of us are here. Let's just do a big stretch and lift one hand. I am lifting the left hand to the heaven and ask for love and the spirit of light to come to us. And you can pass it on with your right hand, pass it on to others. I don't know if we can see, just take one person that you look into the eye and connect. I'm sorry we didn't take time to just introduce ourselves. Usually we try to do that, but connect at least with 1-2 people on your screen. And we would love to hear if you have any question. Are your questions in just who has any questions? Anna, do you see any question in?
I do not. Perhaps people can write them in chat. We can wait a moment.
Or if you speak your name, you can. Bob, do you have something to say? You usually do. No. Bob suddenly recite Rumi for us. Okay, let me see all of us. Hello. So if you don't have any questions, please do write to us, especially about any programs or anything you care. We just wanted to have a moment together to celebrate not only Rumi's passing and going back to the source, but also the meaning that Shabe Arussi, the wedding night, gives and its reflection to our life while we are alive. And no separation, as Alice mentioned, and gratitude, as Rick mentioned. And also, I must say that Rumi talks about connection, connection, connection. It's connection first and direction, direction after the connection. So it's important for him which direction, away from ignorance and toward light. And I hope the rest of this season of light will guide you into your inner life, and the illuminate of the work and love of your inner contemplation will be reflected to outer life. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
And love to all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Alice. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Tamam.
Tamam. Khuda Hafiz. Bye-bye.